Take two. One, two, three, four.
Are you ready for it? Hey everyone, welcome back to Muller's on the Move. We are a traveling homeschool healthcare family here to give you all our tips and tricks on how we make this crazy life work.
Blake Muller here. I'm the CRNA, the one doing all the locum work. This is Paige here, my wife. She does all the hard work, doing the homeschooling, take care of the family. We're here today to talk about just who we are and our past and how we got here.
Let's do a quick life update because it's been almost a month since we jumped on and life has been a little busy.
Someone took the girls to a Taylor Swift concert.
Which meant a trip back home to Louisiana to see family.
One of our kids had a pretty bad concussion we were all worried about, but she's totally fine.
She is great. Make sure your children wear a helmet, even on small hills in the neighborhood. You never know, and it can lead to a concussion. But yeah, she is all is well.
I've been working a lot too to pay for all these hobbies we have. I've also been on my annual elk hunting trip with a few other CRNAs and a PA and a surgeon, and that was very successful. We harvested 4 elk and 1 mule deer. One of my favorite trips for sure of the year. And
thankfully for what we're doing.
Yeah, here in the home state. The closest trip. This is an annual trip we've been doing for about 5 years, and I was only a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
I wish I could still be a resident, so I could have resident pricing on these licenses. But
so even with
quite work that way.
Our house leasing doesn't, I guess, make you a resident.
You got to be a resident for like 6 months.
Well,
to get in-state licensing for hunting. That is. So it's been very busy. No excuses. Why it's been a while since we've posted, but life has just been very, very busy.
And now it's officially winter here in Castle Rock, Colorado. We woke up to snow. And back home in Louisiana, everybody is still in shorts. Which you just went for.
I just got back there today, actually. It was 77 degrees, 85% humidity. Got off the airplane here in Denver, Colorado, and it's 28 and snowing.
Yeah.
So there's winter started, I would say. Yes. Winter has started here in the great state of Colorado.
All right, let's get into it. I guess today we're going to talk about who we are, what our backgrounds are, and how we have any credentials and grounds to stand on this podcast and share.
You talking about credibility?
Do we have any?
Fire away.
You want to start? You probably have a quicker journey through school than I did.
Yeah. I thought about making a joke just now, saying we're both from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and not the number one school, I'd say, but the most known school, I would say, is LSU, but I did not go there. But someone tried to go there. I somehow have no one in my family who is in healthcare, but I had talked with a counselor and a friend of mine about nursing school and being a nurse anesthetist, and I really thought it was just kind of felt my mold of just with math and sciences and just being in healthcare, taking care of people. So from the get-go, I went to a college called Southeastern Louisiana University, which is still a pretty big university in Hammond, Louisiana, which is about...
Fun fact, that's where I was actually born.
Oh, yeah. Which is only about 30 miles or so from LSU, but definitely not as known as LSU. But they had always been known to have one of the best nursing schools in the state. And LSU requires that when you did your prerequisites, you went to Baton Rouge and your nursing, all your rotations and all was in New Orleans. And,
the nursing school is actually in New Orleans.
And as a young small town country boy, which I still kind of am, I wasn't living on campus. I was kind of commuting back and forth, and the New Orleans thing, I felt like wasn't for me. But anyway, I went to Southeastern, graduated there, and 4 years with bachelor's in nursing, and then I worked as in the ICU before I graduated nursing school, so I could immediately get into the ICU as an RN as fast as possible.
Oh, so you teched?
Yes, I was a tech for probably at least 6 months, maybe even a year or so. I graduated nursing in 2008, bachelor's. Yeah, I applied. I know, right? Holy moly. My 20-year high school reunion was this past year. Anyway, so yeah, I teched, and then I knew I'd get a job pretty much right away. And it was a smaller hospital, but I've went full circle with that hospital, but it was a small hospital. There was a lot of autonomy as an RN because with night coverage and all that stuff. But they also did hearts and all that kind of, bigger cases. So people may think it's a small hospital, but it is still very acute and still a lot of good practicing for sure. Not practicing, but good. It's a good environment to be in the ICU and to learn a lot for sure. Because that is a big thing that and entrances into the nurse anesthesia program is what hospital you worked at.
Is that still a requirement though? I mean, like you have to work ICU, right? Before
Oh
you
yeah,
get into anesthesia school?
yeah. So I applied as fast as I could. I got the CCRN. Um, applied as fast as I could, and I
What is
got
CCRN? Critical care
yeah,
nurse? Oh,
certified critical
sorry.
care registered nurse.
I should probably know
Pretty sure that means what that means, but I did have that.
know what that one was.
Go to GRE anyway, and as fast as I could, just because just felt like it was just the right thing to do. And I luckily got in on the first try and went to Our Lady of the Lake College of Nurse Anesthesia in Baton Rouge. Now it's called Franciscan
University,
University,
FRANU.
Fran U in Baton Rouge. At the time, there was only that Our Lady of the Lake and then LSU anesthesia program. Now there's a couple more in Louisiana. So I started that in 2010, graduated that in 2012. So I believe I was 26 years old when I graduated anesthesia school. The market was just nothing like it is now in 2012. There was essentially in the whole city of Baton Rouge, there was essentially one job, which was at the pay was pretty much half of what the full time W pay is now. We would essentially laugh at what the pay is, but now and not as much very directed, but you definitely didn't have full scope of practice. You couldn't do blocks, you couldn't do spinals.
When you came out, you did just blocks?
No, not there. As a student, they really don't even let them anymore, which is unfortunate. At that college of nurse anesthesia, you can't even practice full scope of practice in the hospital that you're.
Oh, because y'all were doing it mainly at the lake.
It's with an anesthesia group, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked there for a couple years, found another job. That was a really awesome job with a lot more independence around town. The market, I would say, just started opening up. And then a couple years after that, I found another full-time job. I don't hop jobs. It's always better.
You just found better.
Yeah, more money, better schedule, more vacation, more autonomy. And I mean, that's just what we did. We had at that point in life, we had no ambitions to. Me anyway. I didn't think we'd ever really be moving far. We've just grown up there our whole life. The southern, mentality. So I went and worked for a all CRNA owned company, DPI, Diversified Professionals Incorporated, which we've already had Mr. Jerry Peterson on there. Might be my father-in-law and her father. It was so I learned OB and everything there really well, and I've always just I love full scope of practice and independent practice. It just fulfills the day so much more. You're just so much more involved with the patient. It's just everything about it to me is just better. And this is a great CRNA group, and then they were growing, and then they got the contract at a place called Oshner in Baton Rouge, which is where I started as the tech and as an RN. And I also worked as my first job there too. So their obviously was expanding. They needed a chief CRNA spot, and they offered it to me. And I took it, and I learned a whole lot about
the administrative.
the administrative side. It's definitely different. It really is. But not only do you learn more as an anesthetist, but then you get the business and administration side and leadership, and it's a lot. It really is. It can be overwhelming or not. You just learn a lot. And I'm glad I was able to do that at such a young age, and in the mid 30s or so. I'm 38 now. And then, even before the market was as good as it is now, we said our main reason why, everybody says, what do you want to do when you retire? And most people say travel. Okay, travel where? Why? How? When? And then we said, that's kind of what we want to do too. But why wait 30 years and our kids will be around the country and maybe want to see them more than with their kids?
And you never know where life will be in 30 years and what our health would look like. And,
So we said,
where our parents would be.
Found The jobs were opening up, money was going up. Um, like I said, we were making this decision for a year. Like, I mean, we talked about
We
it, talked
talked, we
about it.
prayed,
She put it in the atmosphere. I put it in the atmosphere.
we
And
flipped coins.
oh well, I got my went and got my compact. Go and got my compact license today.
What a year that was.
Went and got my Arkansas CRNA license today. Talked to a recruiter. And boom, here we are. Almost 3 years later, 2.5 years later.
Yeah.
And yeah, now we'll get on her side of things, which made things even more interesting for us to leave.
And your story, I mean, you're probably one of the youngest CRNA students because you
was one of the, yeah, they had a few.
Are young for your, I mean, like you started kindergarten young, so you were always young for your
like
age.
17
I mean,
in high school,
class.
graduating.
Yeah. And then you literally just knew what you wanted to do. You went through school, you worked your 2 years, you went to anesthesia school, you came out in a lot of debt, and you worked your ass off to pay it off. So, like, I feel like you were.
Didn't even talk about that. Yeah, I did pay. Yeah.
One track mind.
Right. It's true.
And I'm glad I'm with you. You helped me through all of mine, too. My story's a lot different. I only say things once. You can listen back on the podcast.
Can we rewind that?
Born in Hammond, but raised Baton Rouge. I went the whole private Catholic school route all of life, and you did public school. And then, I mean, I think it just, like we said, small town, Southern mentality. We looked at me going to other schools, but I had tops and I, passed out of a lot of hours. So I went straight to LSU. I only changed my major 3 times. Started out pre-dental. And I worked at an orthodontist office, and I said, this is certainly not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I changed to accounting, and I could not figure out the checks and balances, which our CPA curses me for every year. And then my parents were like, just go to nursing school. But you cannot go to New Orleans because we see how you act at LSU. I lived up to the party girl LSU lifestyle, and my dad, being from New Orleans, same thing. He's like, you can't go to New Orleans. So I
like the same person when we met.
Literally. So I went to Our Lady of the Lake for nursing, but I got an associate's degree. So I spent 2 years at LSU, then I got 2 years at the Lake for an associate's. But I did become a RN. So then I went and worked at the small hospital in the Boons, being a labor and delivery nurse. And then I had to go back for my bachelor's, so that took another 2 years. And then, luckily, I had the same thing as you. I mean, I did have to work before my master's, but I counted my labor and delivery as my years, and I did some other community health, pediatric nursing. So then I went back for my master's in family nurse practitioner through good old ULL, University of Lafayette, but it was all online. And I could do all my rotations in town, which was, we met when I was going through. Had just gotten into NP school. After graduating, one of my OB docs that I worked with as a labor and delivery nurse, she had her own office. So I went and worked with her in women's health as an NP, which I absolutely loved. But then she left me to come join you at Ochsner.
Yeah.
So
it's a small world.
Yes. Then I got
Baton Rouge is big, but it's still a small town.
So then I got employed by the hospital.
I think healthcare is just small field,
For sure.
There's only 1,000 CRNAs in the state, and maybe a little more now. But anyway, sorry.
No. So I got employed by the actual hospital and worked for the other OB docs, who I also worked with as a labor and delivery nurse, which I loved the small hospital feel. We really were a tight-knit group over there, which you worked at and DPI is at. It's called Lane and Zachary. But the problem is it just doesn't have the resources, and it's a little behind the times. And then we had our second kiddo, and I went part-time, and then I kind of got bored. I said, what can we do? And so I became an aesthetic injector. And
so instead of one job, she had 2 jobs.
Yeah, so I went part-time.
One part-time job, she had 2 jobs.
Then to open our own business, which is not ever a part-time job, as a business owner with young kiddos. But so then we opened our own med spa, and we can do a whole business podcast on that one day. So that was another factor. Then I did leave the hospital after when COVID hit because obviously all our numbers went down and I needed to be home with the girls. And then we focused on just the business. And that was another big hurdle before we moved was, oh my gosh, we've just opened this business. We have a lease. We have machines that we rented. And I just put it out there and put some feelers out on, can I even sell this? Is it worth anything? Can I sell it? Does it make sense? Or do we run the business from afar? And I put a number out there, and thankfully we had a larger cosmetic company buy us out. And I think that made us really say...
Got a number that was way higher than I would have thought.
3 times what y'all told me to. Don't ever underestimate yourself.
Sorry, my love.
Don't let your husband tell you what to sell your business for.
She's right. I'm wrong.
Rewind that and listen to it again.
I'm not attractive.
So we sold the business, and that was really our green light too to go. So yes, very similar but different career, healthcare journeys. It took me a lot longer to weave through life.
Yeah, we were going through a lot of business and leadership roles at the same time. Having young kids at the same time. It was busy.
And as chief and a business owner, we could not ever disconnect because there was nobody to actually fill our shoes while we were gone. So that was another difficulty is why are we running the rat race and doing this when our kids are young? Why not enjoy our time with them? And then guess what? It's just a job.
No one wins the rat race.
We'll get back into it if we need to.
That's for sure.
So now
we're in a U-Haul traveling the country in Airbnb housing for 2.5 years.
So while we sit behind this microphone and talk to y'all about what we do have some experience.
Yeah.
From being nurses to advanced practice nursing.
Advanced practice registered. So many names.
Not mid-level.
Which I can't stand. Why do we have so many names? Why are we APRNs, mid-levels, which I think needs to be
banned.
Scraped off the face of the earth. I can't stand that name. Who comes up with low-level, mid-level, and high-level? It doesn't make any sense. It's derogatory. It needs to why don't you just call me a CRNA or nurse anesthetist or nurse anesthesiologist? Maybe APRN.
Provider.
Yeah. Well, physicians hate provider. I am a provider. Yeah. They call me provider. They call me more of a provider than they call a physician a provider. They
Well, no, because on our fill out intake forms, you say who's your primary care. Most people put physician. It should say primary care provider. As a nurse practitioner, we take care of people.
Yeah.
Primary care.
They group. It's like someone else grouped advanced practice registered nurses and physicians as providers. And that physicians don't like that because they want to be called a physician. They don't want to be in the same group as us. Well, if mid-level wasn't invented, then provider probably wouldn't have been in the terms. What's so hard about just calling it what you are? Or hey you, or...
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you fill out an intake form, how do you group? Do you say who is your primary physician / provider? Because a PA could be your primary care.
Why can't it be another box? Who's your primary?
Well, not every.
Boom, physician. Boom, below it, NP. Boom, below it, PA. Why are we grouped?
Have you ever made an intake form? No.
Well, this how it should be.
But you've never had to make one. It's a pain in the ass.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's if you don't actually go to the doctor anywhere.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So that's our history.
Yeah. Now I don't actually work, and you're back to being a staff CRNA.
And we've already talked about some of the places we've been, and we're going to talk about in the future podcasts. And I've definitely worked at every kind of possible model, full scope, independent practice. Heavy medical direction, which I will try not to ever do again, which a lot of these locum jobs are at these heavy medical directions. For one, because people don't necessarily want to work there. Two, they're big teaching institutions, and there's always a need, and they staff differently than private groups, I would say. But there's so many good jobs out there. Like I said, I've probably worked in over 30 hospitals, dental offices, plastics offices, around in the past 12 years. And I love going new places, and I've always loved working with groups that have multiple hospital contracts within driving range that you just go to different ones every day. I've always loved that. So this going to a new place every few months, that is not a deterrent for me at all, and I don't think it should be for you. Without a doubt, makes you a better nurse and a better mid level. I hate it. I just hate it. It's like you're a grade of meat. You're not even choice meat. You're mid level meat. It makes no sense. But anyway,
How you feel?
sorry to delve into that topic. All right. Well, Muller's on the move here. What else you got to add, love?
Nothing. I said one of the biggest questions we get is where is the most family friendliest places we've gone to. So we'll hit that up soon.
Yeah.
Let y'all in on all the different places.
Probably involves mountains and beaches.
No doubt. Can't be landlocked in the flat plains.
Well, that was, I mean.
Oh, it was one of my favorite places.
That was one we came up with. We've had some great places. We really have. It's we don't regret a single bit of it.
We still some coonasses from down south, but we're here to help y'all out. All right. Till next time.